So over to you, Doc. A very warm welcome to you, and the floor is yours, Dr. Forna. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor, and the whole Wel Bodi Beteh Gentri team. And a really important and good work that they do for, help fulfill this information gap between people and but health where we get a lot, we need for learn about. So I really appreciate the work that they do, and thank you for inviting me for talk about this topic today. We're so important to me because as you don't say, really, my own life's work, I believe, saying for help for improve the health and well-body of women and pikin around the world, but specifically to salon, because a salon na in my own place. So really na they make a day today. So today I talk about this female genital mutilation, a global challenge, and we call it a global challenge because a problem all over the world. Yes, some countries and the way we get the problem more, like my own country salon, but I think way they happen all over. I just want to stop and check, Doc, if you hear me okay, if you see me slides, if everything okay as I move on.
Yeah, they hear you fine. They see the slide.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. All right. So, I really want to start this talk for put things in perspective. This na be, a while ago in 2017. This now one news article where they write, say Sierra Leone, one of the worst places to be a girl. Salon, the worst place at the one way for let you born as girl picking. Now that ain't right, but we complete fitia. Yes, we feel bad. Make we feel good, but we say for ask we say why the world go look we so why some people and go give it that kind name there, that kind bad name there. And I want to ask a question. I show this picture of one girl picking where this is around the 1970s. They with mama and papa na salon. Waiting it mean for somebody like Dandy for be born baby girl inside salon. Salon a place where we get beaucoup problem then two side two say talk me. Child marriage, we begin and then they give them for go married when they're small. Early pregnancy, violence against women, them, girl picking and less likely for go school. So yes, we're getting challenges. Then in fact, nearly half of we girls and young women then we age, that kind of young age 15 to 24, they don't know how to read and write inside salon today. About half, close to 50% of all girl picking in a salon, they don't get belly or they don't born them first speaking. By the time they reach 19, 20, they don't get belly and don't born. Imagine how that they affect somebody in future, any potential. So long list of challenges where we picking and they face with girl picking and FGM, female genital mutilation. Indeed, now one of them challenges then they. So this baby house where you see, so waiting it go face now in life. At that 10-day way it born, it began 96%. So 96% chance they go put her under this FGM, this female genital mutilation. Oh, they call her salon, they can call her circumcision, they can call her in society, they can call her bondo, they can call her Sunday, they get different name them. But the most common thing that they put in society. So this girl picking, we born in the 1970s, 96% chance say it go, I go use bondo because I common in my own language na salon. This girl go born as this bikini born inside society where near all the girl bikini either don't circumcise by the time where they become teenagers. This bikini in mama, in granny, in great granny, auntie, in sister, they all don't circumcise. If they're not circumcised this speaking, then go ostracize her. In fact, they get women at timini. Then get a word where they call her and say, you know, burka, if you not don't go society. So you're not going able to sit down with your party there, you're not going able and congosa play together, and they push you to the side. Really, a lot of peer pressure when they push you to the side. A lot of times, speaking like this, not going to get married. They not go because they're not married, so they not go get opportunity for get picking and get family. They not go through this society where we so believe what they grow up say it's important and they teach people they have to become woman, they have to become wife, they have to become mama. Really that it will so part of the culture that it will really affect them. So pikin like this way grow up, it could grow up, look forward for join society, go through this rites of passage, for become woman. There are ceremony, if you ever see bondo ceremony in a salon, the drumming, the dancing, the fine clothes where they buy for you, the food, the celebration. Who's picking not go want that? But that picking go enter society, that faithful day way don't enter society, where the people then we love and trust the most, the woman there we love and trust the most, the mama, the auntie, his sister, then big one day where if he said and they can do nice thing to and then they celebrate them. That day they were they ready for and they then go ulam, sit down on in chest, all tie, all in hand, and able breathe, it scream, spread in leg, then take razor blade, take other sharp knife, something unclean, something and don't use them for the other picking, then cut off that girl picking the in external genital organ then. As that picking the pan scream, small pickings, so all 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It bleed after that. So go get infection. The pain will go deeper, you not go able peace, you not go able do all things. Go sit down there, by God in power, I not die because some of them did die. If you able to heal from that, then don't talk, say now, oh, I don't become woman. Don't all, this is not PQ 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No. They don't become woman. If not applying it there, they don't give them for being married because now in a woman. Never mind the 11 or 12. Before you remember, I don't get belly. It can't begin get the problem. The body not already obstructed, labor, die, and born. So yes, we vet, but indeed, outside and talk say salon are one of the worst places to be born a girl. Then get through where and talk there and now up to we for get more information so we able fix that. So and where would they talk 10, 20 years from now, we will say salon now one of the great places then for be born girl picking. That make we there today. So I welcome on this discussion. I don't talk about salon, but this, you know, now an example, this now from a lot of the picture the word is shown from the United Nations, some of the picture that are modeled and some of the picture that are adults. We want to talk about the history where they consent, so then picture they did. This now in Somalia, one point day where this woman they talk say, now thing where in Granny say na the 3 woman sorrows, then the three tender woman in the sorrowful. The day where they circumcise her, in wedding night, because the pain we get for don't go through because of that circumcision, and in the day where they born again because of that pain we get for go through then complication from the circumcision. So I talk about FGM. Waiting at this FGM or female genital mutilation. Well, FGM now where they either partially or completely cut or injure or remove the woman in genital organs then for a non-medical purpose. So tell them the way that they do things for medical purpose, but this that they do for non-medical purpose. Then things around the world about 200 million women and girls then they are alive today. We don't go through this FGM. And every year about 3 million girls picking and they at least follow and do unto them. So now big issue around the world. It mostly done in young girls, adolescents, the way they under age 15. And then they do it in about 30 countries or so, mostly in Africa, the Middle East and Asia, but in most countries in the inside Africa. Waiting we know, and so I know say me na doctor, me na obstetrician gynecologist, me na doctor we are specialized per woman business no more, woman the health organs. So waiting we know is get no health benefits at all. Not that way they do when they say go help you. So no health benefits. We get other reason they why would they do what we talk about today. The world don't come together, they not all don't talk saying a violation of the human rights of woman and girl picking. So that right where you get as mortal man for woman and saying a violation. We know say it opposed by all the big organization in the World Health Organization, where na the Master Sabi organization for health that the one world, the United Nations organization, and they all they against that, and but country then they were then don't ban. So not to say they talk no more for talk sake, nothing where the world self don't come together say, this not to find what they do to we people we picking it, we girl picking it. So now I talk about the name. They don't get some controversy over the name. The word say female genital mutilation. Some people and they don't like that name there at all. They feel say, well, mutilation are offensive. If you like then they cause we come a country that we don't do them, or people that we don't go through. But other woman and girl that we don't go through and they say, yes, then they mutilate me, they violate me body. So I wanted them call on the name because I wanted them know what they do to me. So that controversy there. Other name they way get. Some people can call on female genital cutting. Some people can call on female circumcision. The reason why they're not use and the World Health Organization decides saying a female genital mutilation and they use as the name now for first agree say na bad thing than they do to girl pikini. And number two, they don't want confuse whether they say circumcision, they make people they feel like say this nothing way similar to circumcise whether they circumcise man. And in fact, we'll go talk later, you go no say completely different from how they circumcise man. Man, then they pull the foreskin when at the thing where they cover the top of the penis. For woman, if for woman then not all that skin there, then they pull, then they actually cut the clitoris, where the clitoris now like the penis na man. So if they circumcise the same way, go feel like say then they cut man in one whole penis now in the thing way na the if you want to compare them two. So now I make people then say, okay, well, so not for use that circumcision name. I want to show a map. This is a map of the world where they show whose side and they do the procedure. Yeah, this female genital mutilation. This society where they put woman. Whose country then they do them? The country that we get deep red, and then country where then they do and over 80-90% of women then. So you can see Salone. We also be we country, the rounded shaped country in the world, that small one in West Africa. We not red. Showing say we get over 80% of women and within the circumcised. We come in Guinea, Mali, then country, then they all red. But you know, Liberia not as high as we, Ghana, all them places, and then Nigeria, other countries in Africa, then get out, but they don't get out better. We na then call we Guinea, Mali, we get out, but then we can over. So outside they call the Horn of Africa, then Egypt, then Sudan, then Djibouti, then self get out. And we are the main country that we circumcised in this world. So the history, but people can wonder who side this thing come out and how it's so common. And so the origin, and people are not sure. Then think say it be they in Egypt, way back thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, they do and the Ethiopia. In fact, even some places in Europe like Greece, they do. They feel say this thing it happened before even the religion, not so connect with religion. Not connect with necessarily the person money status, society as you can see it a different place there. Maybe they happen before Islam become popular. So even though some people and they say, oh yes, na Muslim business, na so it in the Quran, they don't get religious people. We don't look the Quran and say, no, and this thing they happen before Islam. So they don't say, another thing we connected to Muslim people. Then can do other places too, even here inside America. Then we get doctor the way they circumcise women and because they feel saying then 1960s before then it go treat different problem the way women they get. So then self not being sabi, then self they do that until they don't find out saying a bad thing, so they no longer they do them. Some people are now can still do young people and some cosmetic thing the way themselves can choose for do for put like how possible they put here in then yes they go put here in the genital area then send and they so something like that they still they happen at the Western world where women then can choose for do. But for that circumcision they for cut the clitoris and not there again that way it be in the past. So let's talk about some of the reasoning, social and cultural. I'd set that stage. At least for waiting me know inside Salon, our woman and they feel why we want for enter society, why it's important to we and we mama there, we granny there also be come off from waiting them in tell we say that training day, that education they important. So a lot of culture then feel say na the tradition, na the social norm, na so for initiate woman into womanhood and in an important part of the community in cultural heritage. But the only thing I get for talking to, we culture then they change. The way we've been there 100 years ago, 150 years ago, where sometimes you get for send woman a bush, learn how for cook, how for clean, how for take care of his family, all of that. Now different society within now. Not so then kind will not live in villages anymore, will not need for land and kind of thing, and so thing they don't change. But people then still believe saying that in culture, and I think where they get for continue. Then get something where they call psychosexual, where the reason why then they do it. And this is very, very important for talk about this, because at the bottom, the main reason why they say that they do them now around the world, now for really control woman and sexuality. Then get something called patriarchy. We mean a lot of we country, then like Salon, so now a patriarchal country when a man then they in charge. And because of that, man then they create a lot of the environment, and women themselves they support the environment the way they continue put man then forward, put woman then back. So then feel say FGM gets a lot for do with that, because they want let pikin and be virgin when they before they're married. That means they don't get sex before they're married, number one. Also, the one where they're not married, let them not they get sexual pleasure. Then feel safe, they don't get sexual pleasure, they're not going to go cheat on a man then. So sometimes man go married but woman or but no, they wonder one man they way don't marry the man less, don't house, they don't get nobody in a treat. So then things in a damn they cause that evolution day where for control and reduce woman their ability, then sexuality, then desire for get sex, their ability for enjoy sex, we go keep them pure and then things in that is that. So ensure what's acceptable for woman for behave and for be faithful to a man. Now then they will say they say na patriarchy. So even though you go see say na woman and they do society, na woman and they run the show, all of that, they not realize say you know that they do them, but then they support this patriarchal society for put man there in charge for control woman. Other reason they when and can give some people and say na hygiene, and actually why don't they talk about a salon to women anymore? I don't they read that they come up. A lot of women and feel say if they not go this society, they not remove the external genitalia, they will be unclean, they're not going to clean and say fine. Hygiene will be a problem, which we know say absolutely not true, because the rest of the world, the woman and they do that and then clean, they not get problem with hygiene. We also know say what they study woman body, we know say woman in vagina and genital organs now the way God make her it a clean insect. You know, so anything we get for be a bad unhygienic thing. So then another thing where they tell people and say that the reason we're not true. A big part na socio-economic, meaning money don't come inside this thing. Where you go, but place the upline, even a free tongue, woman and then so where they do FGM. Now a big source of their income. Some of them are the primary source of income. When they put speaking in bondo na boku money then they make. So that money business don't come inside. The social structure also important. Where you go a lot of them community there, the woman there where they when are the so where they in charge. Now the powerful women there in the community, in the village, in the town. The traditional bata tenants, they were so important in taking care of the woman. A lot of tenants then are the so way, and a lot of tenants then are the chief in wealth. So you don't know say money and power don't come inside it. And then they bring we to the political, which na Salona a big deal. A lot of tell don't hear about politician and you know, say nearly all we politician and a male na salon. Now then they pay for bondo. You go, you say na kene man this politician pay for 400 women they put 400 pikin bondo. Where drop that money then now the chief in wealth, all man the community, the parent they all glad for her. They use that for buy votes. So that political aspect come into them. And the easy way they show all the aspect, then see how they call the reasoning for doing. And I follow we understand because where you come to say, okay, we want change this. We know say it harmful to we people. How we change them? How we go change them? You realize, say, man, you get forfeit them from so many angles because it day in we all side. I don't talk about religion. Say they don't look at the Quran, they don't look at the Bible, they don't say no did it. The local structures of power, I don't talk about, say then here, you know, in patriarchal society, the one side where the woman and get power, where man not they put hand in a bundle bush, na society, na the woman then they do complete thing. So the woman itself now is source of power for them, they want maintain and they want keep up. But then get for let we understand how complex it is. Say you they do but you they harm you picking there, you they harm you society, you also they act on behalf of the man there where you not really even realize say nah man you they put forward and this thing where you they do. And I make it call it the ultimate form of patriarchy. Then they control man and they control woman. The woman and not even know saying that the man and they control them, but at them then they use for do this kind of dirty work, this kind of thing what they do for us we self as woman and we picking them. So now talk a little bit about the medical side, you know, the classification, the procedure, all of that. We know, I don't talk about and say in the people the way they do this, we call them so way, and they get other name in a salon. But a traditional health practitioner in Kinduan, people inside community, the relative there of woman in Kinduan, so then the mama or the auntie or the somebody else when the so way they do this. The members of the secret society, na salo get bondo get Sunday, so God and name them women or sabi. Other country then they get their own secret society then too. Some side they when I country they when I actually baba then they do when are males. But one of the things that we're very concerning is this thing where they call the medicalization of FGM, meaning they get nurse and doctor and people in healthcare, we actually they do. So UNICEF, when I one of the UN organization, the way they care for Pikine, estimates about 30% of the procedure then na health worker then they do. So in countries like Egypt, they get beaucoup health worker the way they do and 38%. Sudan majority 67%. Nigeria, Guinea, salon we not get number them, but me know for sure say nurse and doctor then they way they do an a salon. I don't get party them when a nurse or doctor do unto them, especially inside Freetown. So now issue they where we get for take a look at. What we know about the procedure, then they give no anesthesia. You say no say, we all know say person for a cutting and he needs stitches for stitch up that wound day. Then they give anesthesia, numb in medicine. So you know go feel where then they cut out where then they stitch up. When they do surgery, then they give you something like you know go feel pain where then they cut you. But this now one thing what they do to bikini and to woman, then when they give you no anesthesia, one, so then they take knife or blade or something sharp and cut you. Inside Bondo Bush, inside secret society, then they do and some inside people like host there in clinic, especially in a food on different places. The instruments that we then can use knife, then can use scissors, then can use some place and pieces of glass, razor blade, and people that we don't go through the society can say something and at the same blade or same knife than they use from Boku Pikine. Now we don't know, say HIV day, hepatitis day, infection and day where you they get, you know, for share knife or blade or sharp thing between people and bonadat, then they do. Then get one special type of FGM, we name infibulation. Then are the bad type. Waiting do, then they do that type, then they do one as salon. Then they do one then Sudan, then Somalia. Then when they cut the clitoris, then cut the external organs, then they now stitch the woman in opening that external lips, then they stitch and they lock and then they tie the girl picking and legs for 10 to 14 days, 2 weeks. Let that thing they go lock short, kind of like a chastity belt. If anybody will know it in a chastity belt from back in the day, where they do in the European country. Then. So now that's when they do. So person not go even able to get sex. Now that's when they do. So this is now the different type the way they classify. Type 1, first I just talk about the anatomy of woman in genital organs. So when you look where woman opening leg, couple of things, and this side where they in the orange, so the two side in the orange, now waiting and call the clitoris. When I like where man get penis, in the man in parts, and the woman in parts, clitoris, some organ we kind of rod like long, it covered with a hood, that. Then beneath that, then get small lips then, what they can call it small lips, that they call a labia minora. Then they get the big lip then, when are they here can they called the labia majora. Then inside the middle, the opening called the vagina. Woman they get sex through menstrual blood they come out, and then they get a small hole above the vagina when at the urethra, separate hole where woman and the piss from, and then of course below that are then at the anus. So now these are the external genital organ for woman. For FGM type 1, now the one way most common we they do na salon. Type 1 usually cut off the clitoris. So this area they were covered in, we colored in orange, the covering and the clitoris now in the cut. Now that in a type 1. I'm not gonna go and get 1A, 1B, but I'm not gonna go into all of that. They get type 2. Now the other type where they can do something in a salon too. Salon Guinea, now really type 1 and type 2. Well, on top of where they cut the clitoris, then they cut them small lips, then they pull all. But then they touch the big lips outside the hair they grow per woman. So now that the type 1 and type 2, now that we they do now we on country salon. Then get type 3. When I remember they tell you about this infibulation where then they do now then Sudan, then Somalia. On top of where they pull all lengthen and then at the type 1, the clitoris and the lips, then now then they sew and short, the whole area short way for them, woman they get difficulty even for peace, or for where they get in period for let blood come up because then they short them. So what thinking get for happen is before when woman married, they get for cut and back open for let get sex. So we think have a bone for cut and open. So they on extreme waiting then they do. So that in the type 3, then get different type then even some of them on top of the small lips where then they cut back the big lips, all then stitch all together. You know, I don't care for a lot of women then from different places around the world in Africa, and then so they see the challenges women and they get ways sometimes the one they hold in a salon versus the one where they come out in country. They all get their own different challenge and complication where then they get. And then gets the type 4 where then just classify say anybody where you this can be if you choose for do yourself, it no matter if you put any kind of harmful procedure, whether you put a urine, you put anything in your area in your external genital organs, they're also called under the FGM. So now down in at the FGM, what we talk about? We'll talk about medical complications and management, because medical complication in Kinde. When they first put beginning through this FGM or young woman, the biggest thing, severe pain, then the 100%, all man they feel severe pain, then take razor blade, then cut an entire organ of your body, you day alive, you wake one, not give you nothing for the pain. If you can imagine that kind of pain, the way they do. So severe pain, a major complication, bleeding. Some people then they can bleed to death because they get big blood vessel then. So that another complication we can see bleeding. Then urinary problems. A lot of people then because of that cut where the non-cut, they're not able to piss. It's so painful because the way you piss, the piss they burn you. So picking and kids older piss they're not able. So that urinary retention they can be problem. And then of course if you don't cut part of person in body, it can lead to infection. And then you can get shock. Shock now where bad. Either you don't lose too much blood or you get bad infection where they put you where you want to die. Now and called shock. So that they can happen to people. And women they don't go through this can get menstrual problems where when they get a period every month and they get serious pain. The blood not able to come out, it can cause problem. And they don't not talk about the psychological problem where you go get where this thing happened to you. They cause a lot of psychological trauma for women then. For the trust, the ability for feel safe in their family, the ability for get a loving relationship with man, the ability for able to get sex and enjoy sex, part of health. Now every human being get the right for get a full sexual health for able to enjoy sex without problem. And when you don't put person through FGM, you don't take away your ability to get the full pleasure where you're supposed to get from sex, and then you don't get any psychological problems on top of that. And then ultimately death. We all dey, but picking away they die in a bondo bush. It is something that happens commonly. Every so often in Salo, you go yeri, then go put picking and bondo, 1 or 2 die, they hold this away, then both case as usual. But death na a big issue, and then I go try for explain them by all other ways, but the reality is na kill person where you cut a piece of a body, you get complication, you end up dying. Women can get problem also when they get Bẹtẹ, when they don't go through FGM. When you you know, of course in Somalia and Sudan, where they lock, they remove the genitalia, then stitch and lock. Of course, the baby not able to come through. So until them pleat down and they back open, and not able born. Some of the able, if they pleat the woman open, it's still they get so much scar tissue, and the baby is not able to come on, and then obstructed labor. In salon, some of the tender we can see that too, because some woman, by the way where they do the surgery, sometimes their lips then they can heal short. And then self can get a problem. They don't see that complication. They even in woman they wake homogeny or salon can sometimes get a problem. They don't do study the way don't show say woman they way go through FGM, then they higher risk of obstructed labor for hemorrhage, then can need more cesarean section, then they at higher risk for them baby for they in distress. And the baby, and they at higher risk for them baby for die because of this procedure where they get. So this is some of the complication the world they see. The World Health Organization, in fact, this is such a big issue that they write book for teach nurses and doctors and people and caregivers for say how for take care of the woman and they for help them. All them problems that we have been talking about where then they get pain, hemorrhage, where you can't see person, where then just put bondo, get an issue, how you able help for treat that woman. Some women can get chronic pain where that area they don't heal. Then they get continuous pain in that area, they depending on how things heal. They can get recurrent urine infection, recurrent infection in the vagina, in the uterus, the womb. They can get an infection problem in it. They can get problem with them period them. And can get problem with family planning. Sometimes some medication where you are used for family planning, we need you for do some kind of exam, you're not able because of the way the scarring they happen to the woman and they. We can get for screen woman and for cancer and in the genital area and cervix, they get difficult time because of FGM. And then of course this mental health support. But woman and get one thing when a PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. When something they happen where any human being go through a stressful and painful situation and can get psychological problem from that and need extra care and support. And of course, the problem they way that they get with sex. So all this book get all the information on how for help women the way they go through them problem. This not just example where for women where they don't get infibulation, where they stitch them opening together, or for women the way they not get infibulation, but the way they heal after this the FGM, they heal the vagina, the covering heal short. This not just then they teach me how for open things back up, you know, for allow man for born, for allow for do exam, things like that. So then are the complication then, but one of the things that I think say important for salon woman they let we know. Say just because you don't go through bondo, it no mean say batang you not go ever get any sexual function or you not go enjoy having sex. That is not true at all. Yes, it impact you. Yes, who side how God make you the way you've been supposed to enjoy your sexuality, your life, then don't impact that way then put you through FGM. Now they will grieve for that. Now horrible thing we will not want for happen to anybody. However, for the woman that we don't go through, we get for I want to talk through the anatomy a little bit, let them know say help day. The clitoris na this female sex organ what I don't talk about, we're similar to the penis, but you see the penis can long, you know, 6 centimeters, it gets certain length. where it did. Well, the clitoris similarly as long, but the side what they see where they na do for woman there, what would they see with we are only a small part. Now kind of the head of the clitoris normal. Then get a big area of the clitoris where hidden under the whole genital area. So if you look at this picture, that side when are orange, all of them are the clitoris. The only side where they see at the top, this side where they say clitoral glands, and that small one they would see. But on each side of the woman in labia majora, when are that big lips that we get here, the clitoris get like kind of 2 foot there where they go under that area there. And also it gets small area where they encircle the vagina. And the good news is all the area then they you able to stimulate them and the woman still able get orgasm. So now even if woman don't go through bondo of FGM, yes, it's more difficult for them to get orgasm, but depending on how he learn, say side the other side and they for stimulate other thing and they for do we go still give that opportunity. So I be just want for Salome and the law know say if you don't go through bondo, all not lost to that clitoris other side and still there, so you still able get some sexual pleasure. The law talk very briefly now about the social and legal consideration. We don't talk about all the reason why they do it. Respect for tradition, and that then they tell you that's what they do with people, and now they do this 150 years. So therefore, we say for dua, if you not dua, you they disrespect with tradition. So that's something where people can talk. And Yusuf therefore bring say, not all tradition good. Then they will they beat speaking, they beat speaking, where they go up and they beat with school na regular one. Then they believe say for beat speaking. Now don't learn say not you know for the beat speaking at school. So hopefully that thing they go change. Thing and they will be they do 100 years ago, will not they do again. So now that tradition be. Then say we need them for ensure virginity and chastity and faithfulness. Well, now we realize say people in sexual health, number one, virginity test not there for virginity. Waiting OBGYN and we went to Master Sabina their area that we able to tell you say all women the opening to a vagina when he not don't get sex yet, he open and he varied. Some people in the opening more, some people in the opening less. You can't just look at me as doctor. You cannot look at her and say this person virgin or not virgin. So that thing we know say not to two. The issue about faithfulness and women, they get different sexual partner. We don't learn say not on your business Sunday. Opposing in reproductive health and in sexuality, it is up to them how in choose for now in your right for do that and not a way for the and control that. And you know for the control that by cutting off a part of the person organ. Other way than they way that person they get for cancer that realization they himself. Now I make human being then get their own individual mandate on how they want to live their lives. Rites of passage, woman not a woman, if you not don't go through if you not don't go through but you're not a woman, then what about the millions of women around the world, billion women around the world we not go through society? That means that they're not a woman, we don't say that they're not two. So we get for question we say around this cleanliness and beauty and religion, enhancing fertility, we not say all they are and they're not two. FGM na religious mandates, we not say na false. If they're not caught woman, you're not going to defend husband for married. We don't say that they're not true. But woman, we're not circumcised, we're married, born Pekin. All them different myths here where we get. And get one way they believe say if you not cut that clitoris, it go grow to become big as a man in penis. Well, we not say not true because we don't treat women from all over the world. We know say a woman might be 60 in clitoris, they grow as big as a man in penis. So all of them myths here we false, we for speak up for them. Around the legal framework, 1997, the Master Sabi organization and for health and United Nations, they all put a joint statement, say the practice bad, not for try for stop. 26 countries in Africa and the Middle East, they get law against FGM. Say no to team way for do. If you do harm, you get penalty. 33 other countries, then we get migrant population like America, so England, so we people and they come out salon and go England and go America. Then get law they will say, when they do FGM now, if you bring that they can here, would they put you in a jail? So then law then they did. America, outside me, they work half the term. We get a law from 1996 where a federal law will say it's illegal. If you do, they put you in a jail. And then don't lock up beaucoup people them way come up country then kind of mistake do and how then take woman to doctor from the country do then they lock them up. But I'll talk briefly about we own country Sierra Leone. Because I salon people they do this for today, the situation. Salon we not get any national law we prohibit FGM, where they punish people the way they do FGM. You go any politician and they talk all kinds of say we get no, we're not gonna let them show in at the book. Then go talk other kind of welfare law the way then they try for say, well, you go use that for FGM. But no, it's shameful. We not get law against FGM. And when we not get law, that means with a with a turn a blind eye, feel like we support this FGM where they happen. In 2014, where Ebola been there, bad one, the government been placed a ban on FGM for control the spread of Ebola. They give people and find them. But then they don't forget about Ebola, FGM don't come back, still they happen. So no, we not get any specific law in books against FGM. Let we talk about the percentage of women that we don't go FGM in a different country. Okay, inside Africa, you go see Uganda, the lowest 0.3%. They don't really circumcise people in Cameroon, Niger, Togo, Ghana, 4%. But when you come to Salon, look this orange, 86%. We are one of the highest countries the way they do. Salon, Sudan, Egypt, Mali, Guinea, Somalia, Guinea-Bissau, and then they do more. So they in that group where they do Boko FGM, but not to say now West African thing. The country they look like they are 44%. So low not just look we country next door, other country then when they do like how we do. When you look at the map of the country, whose side and they do FGM, the dark brown, all the area above 80% than they do. So nearly all of the country except Freetown, 9 and 26 to 50%, around 50% or so they do. But the rest of the country all above 80%. Again, when you break them down, rural versus urban, people in where the rural area, the upland area, 92% of them is circumcised. Then the urban area is city, sometimes inside the city, Freetown, McKinney, then can place and they get slightly less where they do them, but rural area 92%. When you look at poor people versus rich people, the poorest people and then they do more 93%. The richest people then get slightly less prevalent. When we ask boys and girls then at Sierra Leone, this will be a survey where they do in 2017. They use data from 2017 and 2014. They ask boys and men and women about this FGM. Would I then think say FGM for continue? Well, when they ask the woman, 68% say they feel safe for continue. When they ask the boys and men, only 46% feel it for continue. Waiting and they show it's not something where we as women in the country, they push them forward, they uphold that. A lot of time we ask the man, me no mix on a woman business and they talk, but I lie. Not a woman business. Now we all business. Now man business, now woman business, now society in business. And you will see later, a lot of them picking the way they're not circumcised. Now then daddy themselves they stand up. Because don't not forget now patriarchal society. The daddy put in foot down. Say this me picking on another circumciser in ADB. So again, a plea for this now, for the man there, for stand up and take more interest in this, in the welfare of their own picking. Because a lot of times the woman then, for all the reasons they will don't talk about the power structures, feeling saying that the one place where they get control over, a lot of them, and then all them feeling, then they meet the way they tell them, so woman need this for be clean, woman need this for baby virgin, for like all of them things and the way they don't put in a way, now making a woman and they push her forward. where we talk about when you look by age group, who that they don't go through FGM. This is very important to understand this slide because it shows we say hope there for the future. It show we say things that they change. When you look women and where they in that 45 to 49 age group, 40 to 44, 35 to 39. So that 35 and above women in the women they over 37. 94 to 96%, they all don't go through this bundle. They all don't go through society or FGM. However, things don't begin change to the younger woman. When you go to the 20 to 24-year-old, now only 86% of them don't go through bundle. 15 to 19-year-old, 64%. So the younger generation where they come, if people like say we they do and less, so say the more education, I make it important for getting kind for me. The more education what they get, what they learn, we beginnings until less likely. So let's talk of a way forward. This picture I put now, you know, in an Ethiopian now. Think of them consider where 99% they circumcised. Where get like several gal picking, where it learn about this, it carry it in west. In family, decide to make gal picking and none of they put through this FGM. So now I'm making a highlighting. So society is evolving. When you look at the country, then this show the percentage of girls and women who are where they don't hear about FGM and then things say the practice for end. Tanzania, the majority of them, then he said the practice for 95%, Togo 95%, Kenya, all the countries, but Senegal 81%. But when you come to Sierra Leone, we see only 27% feel say this practice for end. So it just shows that we get a lot of work for doing salon for educate with people there around FGM and for convince them say the practice for change. And part of the things that we'll get for do, we get for understand say people then they do FGM out of a place of love. If you come on side where you mama, you auntie, you granny, you great granny, they all don't go through and they all feel say it's important for you become a woman. Then they do out of love because they want let the best for them picking. They believe say if them picking not go through this, they're not going to do well in society. So that make then they do. So until we understand that, for kind of take that approach there for try for convince people for change. Somebody need for mute in Christiana. Somebody when Christiana, you need for mute you mic or you microphone. Christiana can. All right. So, thank you for that. So again, we'll look at the percentage of girls in 15 to 19 we don't undergo FGM in countries. Then in Africa we get database. You they see that number they decrease with time. Again, showing say the practice they change. Okay, so I really want to end by talking about what happened to this baby girl who I've been telling you about, born in the 1970s in Salon. Waiting at the trajectory for that girl picking in this country where they say one of the worst places for be born a girl. Well, I go tell you that story that this girl picking where they also na me mama and papa this. And I want to tell you my story, let you know, say, if it's possible for me, possible for anybody. My daddy, na be one of the big politician back in the day, from independence straight to the 70s, where you feel say politics, now then they fuel this FGM. My mama, who come out family where me mama, me auntie, me granny, me great granny, all man circumcised. So that pressure there, I remember one. Say I be all 8 or 9, would they go McKinney? Now we'll go meet with daddy. No, well, maybe I was 9 or 10. Me and my big sister, they will go meet with daddy. We say, daddy, we want go bondo. What you know now, want go bondo? But we don't see all the girl then they below. See, don't talk to them because in a borka. Come on, here. We don't see the dancing, the drumming, the enjoyment, the love where they shower on their woman. Yeah, we don't go through this rite of passage to become a woman. This is something we want, me and my sister. Then. Now we say, me granny don't they whisper in the ear. All say, who say they go bondo? You don't tell you, daddy, we need for arrange for you. Now we say, one day we go making, we all go sit down with the girl picking it, meet with daddy. We say, papa, we say, one go bondo. The vex when me that the vex will not ever understand. It cause all kinds of. Now he explained to me waiting and they do where them put you on the bush. And the reason why me daddy is so vexed. Now, possibly we been get the now village come on a village born. Now, one of the first people ever go school in village, but I get the opportunity for go for a college. I get the opportunity. He get the opportunity for travel around the world. He go different African country then. He realized that the other country then they circumcised. Why we they circumcised now this country? He learn about the harmful effect. He can talk to me, mama. Now they all sit down, they fight against me granny. And all them people the way they say let we circumcise. They say no, I need to circumcise me picking. I get other thing for. I want let our God born them. Let it get the benefit of insexuality. Small picking, so now that's me that he do. And because me daddy put him foot down, I get a blessing there, I no go bundu. And when I get older, I begin learn, I understand how big of a deal for somebody when a big politician way now that other politician and they pan incident say in they do that. It speak against and it counsel in Pekin. So since then I get the opportunity for go study medicine and forget that passion. They say, that luck when me get at the fet for women and children there in Salon. I go be that kind of doctor when a bella woman there they work for and a girl picking they work for and hope say we able show to Salon and we able get to a point where we all able to sit down together and realize, say, this is not thing what we they do, what we feel say good, where we mama them in one group for we granny them in one group for we, but then say for learn and understand say nothing way harmful. And when they realize say harmful, we get for figure out say how we will all work together. Understand with community there, understand what people and they go through, but try for convince with people. Say no woman or girl really for go through a female genital mutilation na Salon going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Forna. Well, fumble them. My. I don't know if I say, I'm blown away. I mean, as a medic, now one thing me sabi, but obviously as, you know, a citizen of Salon and maybe a citizen of the world, I can tell you say this thing actually opened a whole world for me. I don't know how other people then feel, but important for I can always tell people and say, important for let we not just look at the problem, but finally we look at the solution. I can always say, well, the problem, all man can talk about problem, yeah, the problem is there, but finally we'll think about the solution, and that's where this is coming from. So it's absolutely brilliant. Now, this is a balanced approach, was going to me biased. So, which I think so we could do, the time don't reach for there, we all begin to take back on this thing. The few things where me pick up, now I don't know if I'll be the follow-up. I think it go fine. Let me say probably give chance to the audience rather than me talk me on, because it looked like say now we today not me they watch the chat, but the chat been there on fire. There's no question about that. You know, so you do a tremendously good job, because you not just talk about from a point of view of the medical side. We talk about the cultural side, you talk about the financial side, you talk about the psychological part. So it's an all-rounded approach we're Naomi happy about, you know, not to blame culture, not to anything like stigma, this and that, but clearly it's nothing where they affect with society them, not only na Salon, but the globe itself. In fact, in England, yeah, I don't see where they jail my own company doctor because they actually take part in that. There's no questions about that. As they say, some man they left Salon, they can't try for one. No problem. We now, if they see that kind of thing, they will now holler for that doctor. There's no question. Possibly they're going to even strike them off, and they possibly go in Nigeria. So I will stop so far, because, as I say, this thing is on fire, and we not get the time moving they expect for level for take for deliberate. So I will go through. Me fumble them, as I say. I don't see 3 hands already. So whoever I want for raising your hand, the cow them me compare do. By all means, you raise your hand, and I go try and get to as best as possible. So the first person raising your hand, Miss Alima Dimonique, I think say me and this woman don't do a platform. I remember that. Maybe not remember. They told me to talk about COVID. I think Shemi don't do on this platform. So yeah, over to you. You want to ask a question to Doc?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Dr. Kamara. Of course, yes, we don't do like a same panel where we don't talk about COVID, but you're also married to me relatives, so maybe now that make the connection they come up.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for the conversation, and thank you so much to Dr. Fatu Forna. I think this will be a conversation where we need forget, and I like the style of delivery. I like the information where these get. But for me, myself like a survivor and somebody we don't talk on this issue for many, many years. And I think sometimes in the way we can talk about FGM, a lot of the time people then they fear for let we go into details as to what FGM is. So I'm glad the way the doctor don't cover this, because I think the sooner we go begin to understand, and this don't make other countries that able to with law, because then they minimize the conversation and they talk exactly in terms of the health and the impact where FGM they get per woman and girl picking them body. And we don't see this necessarily time and time again, because first of all, we get other issue there where they ambog we woman and girl picking in a salon. If we just look at maternal health alone, we're more likely for die where they born picking them. We're more likely for get some kind of complications the way we get Bεtε. So, you know, FGM, even though you know they cause them kind of thing, and we need for no waiting back in they do. You know, I mentioned something to somebody from the way they say, I can always tell people that are the West, because when they talk about FGM, I say like so whether they put we bondo, even when we die, if you belong to a secret society, you're not a strong member and you did it inside thick one where you die, if they go was you, even though we get religion obligations or requirements, if they find out saying they not put you down. Because of 10 days on, you know, the people they wake in cut with, then they drink back, they can don't check, they can get something there in a darkness, then they put we. So not to all 10 and see waiting and they do. So when they go was you, then they say they not pull out in and they pull back again, even when you don't die, because we afraid of the woman in private. So we'll begin for talk about it here. We want to let people they understand, say, we're not there against we culture. We just stay against the fact that this thing, they ambog we body now that we not even self get again, we say we go able for say we days on say we body well king, we're nothing wrong with we, because this now we they put up nothing wrong with we private. Now private this way God don't give we a wallet we go with another make it give we. But for that, they tell we say we private bad. Now that for if we not clean, we dirty, we not to woman there, we like man, we not go be good wife now us. So I'm glad the way the doctor actually don't put her in details. But me, I want to ask, because again, I know saying a salon, the doctor touched on a little bit. We know Boku nurse then they do this FGM na hospital. We know say when they go become doctor or nurse there or midwife or anybody who they work in the medical field. You they swear, say, me your work now for make people they well, for let them get good body, for let them get well body. Until this program name Wel Bodi, we need for let we nurse them begin for tell people they say them body well. Because if nurse they go pull and say if they go do bondo, that means you don't believe say the woman body well. So I want to know how we can go about, like we they work directly with we community there, how we go talk to we sister there, we mama there, we granny there, because some of we will still get granny there, we not so we still get with granny there, we not understand, we not go school, we not sabi nothing. Pass we can explain to them, me all tell pass I can talk pantimni to me granny there, say you know bondo no fine, even though now then they go put the bondo, but we tell and say no, this tea nothing wrong with you private. You know, granny, you don't want 12 picking, nothing wrong with your private. We're not for the put then tea again. We can do the society, we can do the dancing, we can learn about the culture, but the body, let we left the body out the body day. So now that question there, I want to ask the good doctor.
Over to you, Doc. I don't know if you get the question because you know.
I think it was a lot more of a comment, and
exactly.
I get your comments, and I agree with a lot of what you say. Really, we forget that education important. Me on granny, you know, I see me auntie there on this panel and they up and they go talk about that evolution, that change where it take for let you talk. Now this now campaign where you get for do one-on-one. Talk to your family, educate them, teach them why. You know, talk to your granny, explain to them. Because sometimes if you convince, you able to talk to other people them. From a medical perspective, you know, make sure we not get that integrated in we curriculum, something like this integrated into we curriculum. So we not stay, we doctor and then they learn about it and they're able to speak confidently and we're able to convince them why they're not for be involved in this procedure, even if then they pay their money and all of that. And ultimately, it can down to we law and the commitment as a country. Because where you, as a doctor, you know, say you do, you lose your medical license, you go jail, or you a nurse, you go think twice for do if we get the right law. So multifactorial.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely important for making, you know, I think so we get, you know, doctor the way the wokeness alone, I can see, I know one calling name, but I know themselves, you know, obviously, as with the suggestion is such that we probably need for, let me take this and think about maybe making it part of the curriculum, you know, and of course you now one of the champions there. So perhaps in collaboration with the other members they seen the team, I can see former chief medical officer and all that, you know, I see one of the professors them are there online. I can see all that in there. I can see some people are very passionate about this. Perhaps this is something where we look at the deanery, you know, maybe something we would suggest to them for let themselves come into this thing, for let them see how we will put this as a matter of urgency, because of the fact, as we know from the chat group, one case still active now in a court. We one when the victim them actually sadly, unfortunately lost in life. So it's important for me to think about this. You know, this might be the extreme, but clearly there's small complication than they. If I'm for we know, say if people are aware of that, they might be able for actually, you know, able for convince other people them and maybe make them change their mind to the point where the one way they're at the far end, the most remote area, understand, you know, the significance and the importance and obviously the complications we can rise from this thing. Thank you so much for that, Mrs. Dominique. I can go now to my favorite man, Pakamo. Mr. Dabo, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamar, and I would want to also thank the WBBPG for all the good things they're doing for us. Now, this Dr. Forna, thank you again. Thanks ever so much. You've blown me everybody away. I will only wish, you know, when I go able, you know, call Dr. Forna again for let's split this into 2 parts, because it's so full of information that if we say with the limit yourself to just listening to how we would miss out a lot of things. There are so much things that, like a word overseas now, like me, they don't ostracize me because me picking them, like how you that it's my farm on in feet say no. You know, for joining, assuming I don't come for me picking them, but now I can't even get my kids to go over there because they feel to say me not just one man where they challenge tradition and then I bat into we. So I'm really happy we don't bring this up. But the comment I want to make, I'll touch on something really very important, but I think so I missed that one day. You guys are training nurses at that place the way they say, I think so when they train them with all sincerity for let them self know say this thing are bad. But if they're using theaters where then they work for let them go do this thing here without you guys knowing, how contradictory is that? You're telling us one thing, then the medical staff, they win a nurse or then surgical nurses, they go ahead, they do them. Because down in the some people they do now, then they go in the middle of the night, then go circumcise them, picking their yard, and then transport them, then go back now the bush. Then they will start to see that happen at bigger towns, which is really sad. And I believe say now then they have been touch on. When I train the nurses there, but then still they carry on with this act. And we want to talk to, yes, indeed, we shall get a very big role for play for make we educate to people them. But like a way a man, like I even say no more. We man, if you put him up and that in there tomorrow, go begin to ask you, so which are you come out? Now because you don't go England, so if you to say with him, you know, then go talk to you rough, then go talk to you bad, and then go try for even belittle you. So I believe to say if there's a campaign within Sierra Leone itself, you know, led by professionals like yourselves, if the UN, according to somebody, they tell me just now, say the African Union don't pass a law or whatever it is they call it, they're not ratifying a parliament and this, that, they're not just, you know, a lame dog or white elephant. There's nothing to it because then they enforce them and then politicians covertly, they support them here in the background, like I say, for letting them get political gains. So me want to know, you know, in the 21st century, what do you have in place where you feel to say you go involve people without incriminating them at all? And 2, how you feel to say by just educating some of us here, we know the ills of FGM, how you feel to say Ogebo, in your small communities, because England, they tell you say go come. Like our doctors say, the non-go jail one of in colleague, you count an from airport and they begin check the beginning from airport. If you take them to Africa and bring them back mutilated, you are asking for trouble. So we all know that one day. But if we have to contribute in our own small communities back home, what do you think is the way forward here, Doc? Because honestly, this is a headache for we all. And I believe to say, it is going, we don't run out of time. Completely run out of time because people are doing it en masse. This past dry season, we won't believe it and the Kobukamba, all the gal picking they go put on all Pambudo. Even the one that we don't have for one self, them parents and get edge over them. They just told them all carry them, all go to the village and go about nearly 150 kids in the chiefdom. The paramount chief sanction them, everybody say, okay, then for without go challenging now one day. So now, if we just narrow this down to like us, the audience now, at least we able to read and write. And we're able to relate to the statistics, and we're able to understand all the ills and all the dangers that we involve. How about one that we don't know? We're not at the target. How do we go about doing this? Sorry, I had many more questions, but Lana take time. I know many more people to wait for me. I'm sorry, Doc. I'll carry on and on and on and on. I don't want to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. You raised very, very important points. I think one of the things, based on the presentation, you see all of the things that contribute to FGM is multifactorial. It's medical, it's legal, it's social, it's cultural, it's all of them and it's together. Therefore, for target term, it's also multifactorial. In Sierra Leone, like it or not, we are a highly, highly political country. So number one, not political. Una way they are, we get political influence. When the first lady came out and said, hands off our girls, there's nothing stronger than I thought hands off our girls meant nobody needed to put me picking and bondo again. That's hands off our girls. Yes, rape, sexual violence, all of that connected. The fact say an adult get mind for touch a picking in genitalia and do what he wants for do it is part of the same thing where they cause rape. It's part of the same thing where they cause FGM. So if there is a way for get to the first lady to convince her, say this is bad, because she has made statements where you not necessarily feel say it's bad, it's not getting information. And until we have that from the top, from the first lady, from the president, and therefore from the politicians saying that, because when the leader don't tell them, say this is not acceptable, then they never go pay for put 400 people in Bondo. So it needs to come politically. It needs to come in the medical establishment with education. It needs to come in us, if indeed then they do the surgery in the middle of the night, how do we enforce our regulation, the medical and dental council and the nursing council for hold people accountable. It needs to come from community groups where we're working in communities, educating our people in communities, where we're providing economic opportunities that are not linked to cutting our girls. Because at the end of the day, where people can get for leave, they're going to find a way. And there are lots of organizations Alimatu might know about where then they are trying to replace this cutting and get other celebrations. So it is going to take, it is multifactorial, but I truly think our biggest is political. Because if you have a president in the country and a first lady in the country, we say this, me go through one, or me, I was saved from it. But I believe, say, our people should not have this happen to them. We move a long way forward. So I pray every day that Hands of Our Girls will expand to include something against FGM.
Thank you.
It's a good thing that, Doc. It's really important where Mr. Dabo raised that point. Now, I don't know if there's any data or any statistics from the medical aspect where you say the first lady look for evidence, because if we get the medical statistics where they enumerate all the possible complications where they stem from this, this FGM thing, perhaps then they go serve as a, if you like, an instrument towards, trying to see how this legislation could be actually raised and maybe passed through Parliament. Because according to which I know say there is a legislation, but because they don't name FGM directly, the paramount chief they've been so empowered that they actually decide, say, this thing more traditional than legal. So there's no legal statute or legislation where say this thing is actually outdated or maybe outlawed.
Doc, they were even saying, Doc, sorry, they were, when they were doing this, when I'm in the debate in the parliament, people were saying piercing naya, tattooing naya, where them feel to say harmful to the body. Then for past legislation for ban all land efforts, if people are piercing their genitals in multiple areas, why don't we go tell William? Now those are the kind of arguments people on the brink come up in the parliament. So maybe leave to say, like I said, medical statistics and medical opinions
we have
strong. Now, for really try for publicize, because the first lady, I remember the first lady saying this, Doc, the first lady say enjoin. So in no see how much power Ingo get for let you criticize something. I've seen that clip somewhere. I think I'll find it. And I was shocked, not in a bad way, but she tried to exonerate herself from the act, from the practice itself, by giving up excuses like say, me join me, mama join me, granny join, all man join. So I know see myself they criticize something we're even a part of. So those are the kind of things. But if doctor like professionals with clouds come together, then try to create a situation which I will all go join in. So maybe we will shout louder for the politicians there. Because when they talk about politics, we are the politicians. We all, whether we are dormant, passive, or active, we are all politicians to that country. So what we for try to do is not just how to be able to lobby and how to be able to make as much noise as possible. We're not doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for our great-grandchildren. Because we are picking and not go join by God power, But and they no land enough for let them know the ills of and the bad thing that will come. But now we young people away there and the way. Me, they even afraid for opening mouth to talk to them. But we are doing it as a group. We will find a way out. Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. I'm sorry for.
It's okay. It's okay, though. As I say, this is not just food for thought. It's probably something where, as I say, medics they're on board. Where obviously they are able to talk. So probably it's something where could be important for them. We think about how we could actually galvanize, the medical aspect of it for show the evidence of. For me, mostly not just the complications. Yeah, but the problem here is. If we get a way of analyzing the worst versus the least, then perhaps we can get something. Because as you know, from waiting Doc in your own presentation say, is that type 1, type 2, 9 with the practice nas alone. Whereas you'd expect, say, type 3, type 4 will get, logically, go get the worst complications. So therefore, that could probably be a way of actually analyzing it and then coming up with a proposal. Say, well, even if type 1 day like that, this is what we're getting from that. And so therefore,
So very quickly, we do have that data. We get studies published showing it. I talked about it in my talk, and I'll put, when I give this to a medical audience, I actually give the scientific published data, the relative risks. It is available. And I think, say, there might be an element of choosing not to believe or the data.
But to top that, well, Doc, you talk so popular that they don't request a second coming of you. So so it looks like say we are hooked on having you. So that's a good one. I'm happy with that. Not to be nobody think that. All my has to think about it. See, we want it again. That's it. That's the KRIO.
Bring Doc back, please.
So add to, just so you are aware, I mean, the people and they with their hands there up. There's a lawyer, Nikki.
I just want to go. Yes, I want to go to Mr. Ibrahim Sise.
Yes, Doc. Dr. Fatu Fofana, thank you very much. This is a subject where I don't always talk about, I don't think about. And sadly, the job what they do, like normally a policeman or police officer, again, uniform, again, badge, will go out in the public, see him. But me own job officer, not be like that. But yet still, we do similar job where we actually monitor some of the activities we people in the society. And one bad thing that would have happened recently, when a Sierra Leonean family, then go salon, then go put the Kingo bundle. Now, when they return back to the UK, they don't know say that the airport there, they go for check anything there. So they suspect say something happened. So they flag up saying that it's an issue. So we need try for know the family and we try for know exactly what is going on in the family. So that if the family get the race, then they go check the kid. They say it don't go window recently. And the only way they go salon. So unfortunately for them, both of them got in prison, and it became a way about now. we don't plan way for let a and go and Newcastle, we get no connection to Salon community, which is sad. What I mean sad, it really hurt me. It hurt me to the point where I say, oh God, I say, why are we so stupid? In the sense that you can't pick, you don't bonner. You don't see the picking, the growth fine for you. What are this thing where you so determined where you want to, we don't get no connection to you, but now you picking, don't you about you, now you picking. Feel as if you only you put on a fire for yourself. You understand? It disturbed me so badly for the whole week where I know about that's it. I don't feel good. The whole week I don't feel good. And why this thing? Before this talk cancelled today, that's what I'm always passionate about. Always passionate about. And one thing I want to say, I'm not believe I'll ever say to anybody else. This is the first time. I want to tell Dr. Kamara, thank you, my brother TJ Rugi. I remember say the first meeting we'll get for set up Gentri, now 3 4 part of meeting there, and I see how much passionate they were. Where you we even get side for left in Peking, but it can't with for the meeting. Rugi, no matter how tired she was that evening, it can't. The only way Dr. Kamara because it been called to say a department meeting or a department of hospital, so it can but these are the pioneer of everything. So I'll tell you, I'll take it very, very much. And today, this is only grow from strength to strength. Just imagine, this is the first session where I see we don't hit targets of almost 41. We go to 45, which is very good. And I'm glad you back say, you, a doctor who can present here. If me, even though I'm passionate about, and nobody say it's dangerous, if we can't talk about that, they will ask, what do you man know volunteer? Just to quote Dr. Davosi, what do you man know volunteer? What if we can't talk about human business? Whose kind of knowledge you get about that? So that ability of damage you care forever. But yeah, knowing that now you can present with a medical background, you get every angle we cover. You cover every angle: social, political, mental health side. Everything. It taught me so much. Deep down, I think say, wow. This program, I believe say it will grow from strength to strength. And me, I promise one thing. I say in general public say, no matter how difficult it is, I will try my level best for support this program. Any other time, and I apologize for the last 2 sessions, one of me just because for some reason I don't know what's happened. But now one thing they want where I see also I know for the missed session, no matter what, just because the knowledge of where people they bring come from different professional where professional within the program alone, it's so beneficial. This is just one thing where I know it taught me so much, and it opened me even more. And if you imagine who's asking now, I guess statistically what they look a data what they watch now. Salon within a fourth at least now Africa, we do type 2. Just to go to Dr. Forna-Sesay, which is absolutely correct. We live number 4. Salon at least, number 4. You understand? And all the things we talk about, so I just imagine we in the position now, where, okay, yes. I don't say, so the discussion we will get, if like a me first man pioneer, and it's okay, like say, now man business, not woman business, not for talk about at all. They try for do everything for damage your career or destroy you for life, say, not to see something we talk about self. But I believe say we will find strength, we will bring yourself forward with the man there, regardless whether subject regarding the man, but as long as there's something we for do with we partner them. We picking them, we sister them. Me, I don't witness Nakono. I don't know if somebody in Nakono will submit the Dukere family. Justice. Yes.
I just conscious of the time.
Yes, okay. Sorry about that. I was just making sure I know about time. Sorry.
I'm so pleased with your comment, and I'm so really grateful for all the good word them and things like that, but we just, as you know, we run out of time. So I've been just wanting, but you really make a good point. There's no two ways about it. It's not easy for them we set up this thing, but I'm so glad they say we don't reach to the far and wide audience of not only Salon, but in this audience we get Nigeria, we get Ethiopia, we get Uganda, you name it. So kudos to you. You've been there at the very beginning, and you still live with me, and I know say we go carry on and be with you. There's no questions about that. So thank you so much for that. All right, yes, this one I don't wait patiently, Miss Lola. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Please let comments and be short.
Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. No, first of all, I am the proud auntie. So Fatu, thank you. Where they talk about we pain. Of course, me and you don't talk about this for the longest. But one thing that made me curious about, and it's a question, Alima to talk about that. You know, as young girl, one of the way they can get woman in back. Then they say, we before, yeah, it war. Then say ugly, they smell. And because of that, some women they don't want that. Some pikin they don't want that. How we go begin for let pikin? You really need for look you stuff. You before you, let you know what it look like, smell and then let you know, so you know they smell. And are the most beautiful part of you where God give you. Down there again, I'm all that thing where they need for tell pikin because then they afraid. Seriously, some kids have been low into that because they say it ugly. Me like me one small. You fine girl, you get what's in for puller. They smell back now for puller. Do you beg?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Auntie Lola. I think that is part of the brainwashing that it takes. If you were to think of a procedure where then they actually take you, then take knife, then cut a piece of your body, how the type of brainwashing you get for make you comply, for make you believe say your body ugly, for make you believe say this is important, and for let it go through generations. That's what it takes. It's part of the reason why I think say one of the things that we don't do or develop as for a while now is this element of reproductive and sexual health education for start from where you begin and small. Salon also now a place where we get very high rates of sexual abuse and molestation of we begin. And again, because of lack of information and this then they scare you, say anything for do with you private so bad that you know for talk about you know, for do nothing, that like they scare kids where they not get mind talk, where somebody touch them, where somebody harm them. And we get for find a way for we education to parents, for let them know say they need for educate them picking them positively from within small. In we education at schools, we get for educate people about their anatomy and about the fact that this is normal. You are clean. All in here, like way of that positive aspect of reinforcement we get for bring her in, because you get for counter all these generations of lies and all of that. But that is a very important topic where you bring up is you are right. Women are really brainwashed. Women are really there. There are some myths where they say if Pekin born, it touch the clitoris, that Pekin and I make it die. Like when you have newborn deaths and seeds, and they tell people in that, and that is the fear where they make somebody come out England, he bring in Pekin can cut them because he really feels say he want to give in Pekin the best chance. So we get for education is the most important thing, and that is why we're here today.
Absolutely spot on, Doc. There's no questions about that. I don't even get anything to add to that. iPhone 13 Pro Max, please. Unmute yourself. iPhone 13 Pro Max? Okay, why is it unmute yourself? Let me go to Amran.
Can you hear me okay? I'm actually
okay.
Yeah, I'm actually driving, so do apologize for that. I am Septina. I was very inspired by the conversation, and it is really one that's very needed. And I'm thinking my comment and some observations that I would add to this is how much information would this be helpful to tie this to gender-based violence, right? I got on the call a little later than I had initially planned to, but I'm curious if that's part of the framework is looking at it from the gender-based violence perspective, and perhaps also linking it to a human rights violation, right? And so for me, the narrative would kind of be a transformational narrative that would involve men and of course empowering women to be more voice advocate for our women and girls. So I'm curious, Dr. Forna, would you add to this? And if I had missed this initially, I apologize for that. But if you can add to that perspective from the lens and the gaze of human rights, and as well as a gender-based violence perspective. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Indeed, it is sexual and gender-based violence. It is a violation of human rights, and that's the premise that the UN organization, the WHOs and UNICEF, that is what they use when they get the statement against FGM. So yes, it's not even adding it, that is what it is. And that is part of the reason why when we look from a political standpoint and the things that are happening in our country, for Salon, Hands Off Our Girls, this is an integral part of Hands Off Our Girls. Because people, when they put their hand there on, we picking them, then they violate them and they tell them, say, it is okay for adults and for put their hand in your genitalia and do what they want for do with you. It is what perpetuates to we picking them from where they molest their speaking, and they put them bondo and then give them for married alley, then born picky alley, woman, and gets that they happening to them throughout their lives. So yes, thank you for that. It is 100% a part of sexual and gender-based violence and a violation of the human rights of women.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Doc. I believe somebody correct me, say Mr. or Mrs. I don't know, Nikki Spencer Coker, been doing it longer. So over to you, Mr. Spencer Coker, or is it a she? I'm not sure.
The she.
Ah, she, right? Okay.
Right.
Sorry, apologies.
Okay, and just want to follow on just the point I want to make way the last caller before the last speaker before Dr. Forna come on, which is basically that the reframing of the conversation they take place now, and actually it take place now even within Sierra Leone, with the work with some of they do, that it is sexual and gender-based violence. It is a human rights violation. And right now we get a unique opportunity going into 2023 when I will get to see some real sort of, I believe, hopefully, well, not hopefully, I know it's gonna happen, movements in terms of trying to hold Sierra Leone's feet to the fire, to the you know, laws and statements that they've made internationally. And just recently, November 18th has now been declared by the UN child, I think it's zero tolerance against child and sexual exploitation, sexual and gender-based violence, etc., which was put forward in a UN resolution 131 by our First Lady. It's been accepted by the UN General Assembly on November 8th. And so if this from Sierra Leone has gone to the global stage, it is now time to say that indeed that this practice is also a part of sexual and gender-based violence as it is recognized. And if it's gone to the UN which recognizes it as sexual gender-based violence and a violation of human rights, and our First Lady has pushed this forward, then Hands Off Our Girls absolutely has to mean that that FGM should be abolished in Sierra Leone, and not just for children, as is going to happen in the law, which will be passed very soon, probably before the end of the year, or in the first part of this year. It's going to be laid in Parliament, the amendment to the Child Rights Act, which explicitly bans FGM for children. But it's not just a practice for children. It's a practice that takes place and affects our women as well. And so if you don't go put that UN resolution there, then your Hands Off Our Girls campaign has to also include that. And I think part of what's going to happen is that we are going to be speaking directly to the First Lady, and she's somebody who go listen. I mean, she's made ambivalent comments in the past, but go listen for making notes. And now your statement on the global stage cannot be in contradiction to what is happening in the country. And your statement and your resolution that you put forward and tied to Hands Off Our Girls then has to be on the same platform. So I think Sinade will get for go this reframing of the conversation, that it is sexual and gender-based violence, and it is a human rights violation. And all of us, uncut, cut, man, woman, now we all business, because for us in Sierra Leone, we're all Sierra Leonean. If it affects the children and women and girls of Sierra Leone adversely, it is all of our business. It's not something that is the purview only of those who have gone to the society.
Our lawyer and one of the major proponents of our rights in Salon has spoken. If I can just ask you before you go away, Nikki, for talk about this issue of has any prosecution without laws, any of the cases they're not able to go anywhere, because you're not a lawyer and you know these cases better than anyone. All we know is that there's no law currently, but if you can talk briefly about that.
No, well, it's true. There is no law currently because we get MOUs with SOAs and all that kind of stuff, which people ignored anyway. No, I mean, not in it, even in the midst of all the bans which continued after Ebola, even through COVID and on. Initiations were still taking place. I put in the chat, say, even recently, an MP put in 750 girls, paid for 750 girls to be initiated. Now, that particular MP, just this past week, was in a room with other MPs and the executive of the Forum Against Harmful Practices, in which this was put to her directly. And her position, I'm not sure if it's completely changed, but they basically, directly stated to her, you cannot be using politics, to advance a harmful practice against women and girls who you say you're representing. So, I mean, things are happening, on the ground. I also talk about the fact, say, I put in the chat as well, that there's a case in court right now for the death of 21-year-old Fatu-Sesay. This is now a murder case. The person on trial is a SOE. So, slowly, I think my own experience over the past 10 years has really been the change in the willingness of advocates, of people to speak up. That is not just, you can't just silence, because first say, like the gentleman said before, go afraid for talk because in a man. Or you go afraid for talk because you're not KRIO, and also, but even now the KRIO themselves, then they do them, by the way. Very, very small percentage, and mostly now I could KRIO there, but it's happening right the way across in Sierra Leone. So now all man in business, not to nobody, no, it's not, we're all going to talk. We're going to talk, we're going to talk, we're going to talk, and that's just the way it's going to be. And so I encourage all of us on here who believe this is an issue that's important to you to not be silenced. Present the facts.
Thank you so much. That's very, very vibrant. I mean, we hear that and we feel up, as somebody brand you, firebrand, definitely. You live up to your billing. Right, Doc, from Amren. Sorry for the delay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Forna, for a wonderful presentation, and for the Wel Bodi Gentri for this wonderful initiative. Of course, the issue of Bondo, I call it, as Dr. Forna says, is quite an interesting one. My own interest in this started where they from two. One of the teachers in St. Edwards presented the male and female society as social institutions. And then tell me the positive aspect, especially I was curious about the Bondo. I grew up all my life in Freetown, and then where the women are taught the art of womanhood, etc., etc. And then, of course, come the issue of the cutting. When I come to Europe in Switzerland, one day I go to one conference, there was a breakout session. I be look for my room. Unfortunately, fortunately, I entered this room where it was the FGM that was discussed. I entered from the front, so where the panelists were. So I was forced to want to go to the back. I could not escape again. The only African in the room to put the question to me. Waiting at the opinion. And then I always thought of it like a social institution, And like where Dr. Kamara said, the types of circumcision that is practiced varies from one part of the continent to the other. In West Africa, it's type 1 and 2. And then I can ask myself, why the cutting? What actually makes people that begin cut the young girls them, or the male society begin mark with back them? Why the cutting? And then is it that historically we not be get those days they don't get certificate to give people that way enter the society for sure say you don't enter the society, therefore here is your certificate. The only thing they did was that to mark the person or to cut. And then of course, as it went from West Africa, where the civilization extended to other parts of Africa, it was passed on by oral tradition. So nobody knew how big was the cut. In West Africa, it was a small cut. By the time you get to the North Africa and other places, then everybody went for cutting, that cutting deep means more might, etc. So my question was to us, the experts, is that, to you, the expert, is there a way, because there are positive aspects of the social institution, apart from this cutting, is there a way where they could replace this cutting with sort of a certificate so that that aspect of cutting could be totally eliminated? Then we look at the positive aspect of our cultural, maintaining our cultural legacies, you know, because for me, they were cutting because they had no other way of documenting it. Now we have certificates, so we can propose that one. And of course, they justify the cutting by different means now because that's what our forefathers used to do. But we are way advanced. Can we propose that so that we give certificates, then we allow the social institution without cutting and criminalize the cutting, but look at the positive type of it? Thank you.
Very good question. First of all, I don't think the cutting was because of a lack of certificates. I think the cutting was intentional to harm and decrease a woman's libido, for make sure so you don't get interest in having sex and you don't get sexual pleasure. So that so that they test you, say you don't get sex before you enter the bondo bush, so that you are eligible and a virgin to be married, and so that then cut off your clitoris so that you do not have urges, they think, so that when you married your man, you go sit down at house faithful to one man and not interested in sleeping with anybody else. It was a deliberate way to impact a woman's sexual and reproductive health. So that was the reason. However, that said, there are the cultural aspect we feel is important. Some of the people I go tell you say, then they like we say where then go put you there, go be 1 month, you go learn for cook, you go learn for clean, you go learn all of these things. That's what it used to be 100 years ago. Now it is not. A lot of cases, they put you and cut you clitoris and you're out. That educational aspect has been gone. But in places where that educational aspect is still important and that culture is still important, there are organizations that I am aware of where, for example, they get bondo without cutting ceremony right now. You're right. That is being done in different places there in Salon, where people that we don't go to bondo, they integrate, they convince sewers, they do presentations like this, they show them why this is harmful, and they have co-developed a way for do the bondo bush and do the learning and the singing and the dancing and all of those cultural aspects without the cutting. So there are small pilots that have been done, and that is the way forward. You're correct. It is going to require us understanding, because you get to understand inside this way then they come out. You get to understand outside this rural community deep inside Falaba, where is so important. So you have to understand and you have to come together and co-develop and find a different solution. So there is hope for that. And I think with the political and the social and the cultural will, we can get to that point where the certificate we give you is that rite of passage, but not the cutting.
It's interesting that's food for thought. And I think, like you always say, I like for be not just part of the problem, but part of the solution. And if actually that's part of the solution, I think we would have achieved something big. That's a good thing. Right, let's go on to Key Mono, please.
Hello. Hear me?
Yeah, Key Mono.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Sorry, because I've been still on mute. You know, first of all, I want to tell Wel Bodi Beteh past Gentri, boku thank you, not for just today, but also, especially for today, Dr. Fatu Forna, may respect to you. You know, what we talk about now, a very important social aspect, we get in medical implications and also whatever it might be called, right? But waiting a lack about your presentation, now the fact that you not just touch on the medical aspect, you touch on so many other related aspects, the socio-political, the psychosexual, etc., et al. I'm not going to all things because a lot of contributors before me already talked about that. I mean, especially like Ibrahim Sisse, Kamodo, Dabo, AMRN, and so on. Now, what they talk about FGM, first of all, my own primary opinion is for we own society in a salon, waiting don't missing, not the political will. It's almost like talking about climate change today. We've been talking about climate change since the 70s and haven't done anything till today. And the same applies to FGM. And I think it's time for us as a society. It doesn't just affect women, it affects men, it affects families, fathers, uncles, aunties, grandmothers. I mean, when you talk about Sowe and so on, it makes person like me smile because Akebo relates to that. Inside my own family, we self get Sowe there. And I know say from 2 generations before me, then begin remember that. Now then decide say, we own generation, nobody not get for mix panda one day. So inside my own generation, I gladly say nobody, not even go bondo. Now, on the other hand, it not mean say because FGM na a part of them, the society not to, as you rightly put up, it's a passage of rights. Because like 100 years ago, life's development, today we might talk about going to primary school, secondary school, university, or tertiary education. Back then, it was the 7-year generation. 0 to 7, you were an infant. 7 to 14, now then 10 and they begin go them bondo. And I make even things like what we suffer today as part of child pregnancy, but early marriages have their roots back then. Because between 7 and 14 was when the boys went to Poro, the girls went to Bundu, right? And these were the times when all of these things happened. So it's time for us to actually rethink, is that still contemporary or do we need to move on? Can we move on as a society without that aspect? Because the irony of it all is it's a public secret. And most of us, quite frankly, are no longer, would no longer endorse it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's good. It's good that you make some valid points, absolutely super points, and as it's been suggested, I think it's best for that we just make this thing short, because I get only 4 minutes, but it's really a good point where you make, and as it is, I'm really happy with the contribution we don't make. There's definitely food for thought.
Could I just conclude with one sentence?
Yeah.
I once let Wel Bodi Beteh pass Gentri. Do ya? Una let we try come together and begin to put together ideas and statistics where we be able to use as a trajectory for improve with society. I thank you all.
Excellent, brilliant. Thank you. That's a brilliant idea, and I think we welcome that kind of suggestion today. So if you probably send you details to we will probably try and create a kind of collaborative, if you like, maybe we will try for get things moving, and then of course we go move things forward. I guarantee you that you reach out to we and we will get this collaborative, and I'm sure with the help of Dr. Forna and Ms. Nikki Spencer, definitely we will go for see what you go move forward. So thank you so much for that. Right, Ms. Cheryl, make them short because I'm conscious of the fact that we almost done 2 years on air, 2 hours on air.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Forna. Thank you, everybody. I make me very short and sweet because we're very time conscious in America. I know say everybody else the different time zone, but me can join this forum. I'm fairly new to this. I joined the forum not only for give suggestion, but I will learn some more from Una all and Dr. Forna because me a women's health nurse practitioner, so I don't see this bondo thing. Now Africa they use for put us say Una all Africa, but I don't see how it's, believe it or not, Spanish people them with Indian people them, but not salon. Yeah. My own suggestion is I think say we don't go, we get the alumni them, because we go and wash. I think say we for also begin try for talk to people them, make them begin try to for talk to the small picking themselves. Because this thing, like way a couple of people don't say, it's politically driven, culturally, but I think say we get for teach the small picking like class 7, from 1, from 2. I think say then get for begin to stand up for themselves basically, because people then go overpower them. You know, we will get alumni them. Low begin talk to the school them. Is this something that needs to be part of the education in school? You know, we get for make sure say we educate, look, because the political side of it, I don't know, I'm not a politician, but then we talk, but nobody know nothing but it happens so many times. So I feel so for they reach directly to the young girls then. So then young mama them, make them no say, okay, let granny no count confused to say, do you are big, this picky for go bondo. No, you know, so I feel say we get for still begin from the small big, the low know it for politics, low know it for culture. We self get for begin, if we get them small group, them who they make, or begin do the education from ground. So when you talk to a 14-year-old, they go tell you say, do you are big, me no mix bondo, then self go begin educate, then company. That is suggestion no more. Me want to forgive. Short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, no, that's brilliant. And that's they in line with what we talk about. Say not only at the medical school, we obviously, you know, not later on, and not only specifically for medics, but actually beginning them a lot early. Which make this is important now, because I know I digress, but I just come out Kigali camp, and I tell you what, if you carry plastic bag na Rwanda, believe you me, you they ask for trouble. I don't see 5-year-old Pekin, just to tell you no more how they do it. 5-year-old Pekin, the all tough in my mouth. You know, you get plastic na yarn. Yeah, it look left, right, and center. How I go get place for go put up. So if we don't put this, but we don't Pekin them, you understand, at that young age, then we actually carry out forward and go on and on until we can get for rich medical school. But that's a good point, and I think say they're in line with that. Definitely. Thank you so much for that. We'll take that on board and we'll work on that. Right. Doc, don't go. I don't know, but anyway, Miss Septina, Florimont.
Yes, I was in the car when I was speaking earlier, so I'm now in person. But I wanted to just circle back to the point that Ibrahim made about ostracizing brave, courageous, empowering women who stood up for the right thing. And now, what are the plans for safe housing, right? For the women who are bold enough to say, I don't like, you know, Dr. Forna was one of the very fortunate ones that had a parent who, of course, in a patriarchal society, who stood up for what the right thing was. But in the place where there isn't that, what are the safe houses? What do we have to encourage these girls to speak up, who are passionate about not being circumcised? What plans do we have for them to support them through their decision, empowering them even further, and perhaps even mentoring them for future roles, such as your role as you've done working with women who are being subjected to gender-based violence? So
yeah, definitely, if you go on that shortly, but I think some of it has been answered already looking at that. I mean, the suggestions that came from the audience talking about the kids at very early age, the alumni associations, you know, teaching them about their rights and the fact that they shouldn't be coerced into, you know, submission to this, you know, act is one thing. And of course, making sure it's included in the curricula, not only in the schools, but also in the medical schools is another thing. Now, I don't know if Doc would want to, you know, expand on that maybe,
Yeah, I think, Septina, thank you for that. That's a crucial point is, yes, we empower you and we give you the education, and you know exactly what happens with FGM, and you stand up as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, say, I'm not going. Well, you're living with your parents, you have no recourse. Then go grab you, and they've done that before. Then they grab you, so they go, what do you do? So that is this holistic approach that has to be taken, because I think education is our way out of this. When every single teenager or 8, 9-year-old knows exactly what happens in that bush, that you are going to be sliced with a scalpel and a knife, and there will be a bunch of them who will try to fight it. But if you are powerless, your parents take care of you, what do? There's no recourse. So it's that holistic, we have to come up with a holistic approach where it is sexual and gender-based violence. There are safe houses. There is a place where you can run away to, where you can be safe and all of that. But you're right. That is something that I'm not sure that exists. I'm sure that people have been trying to run away from Bondo Bush since time immemorial, and you end up not being able to run because you got to come back home. Yeah.
That's it. That segues nicely because you're looking at somebody who is a minor. Now here in the UK, 16-year-olds then consider an adult, but in actual fact, the legal framework is such that until your 18th birthday, you're still a child, all right? But the question here is where, I mean, as I say, we're just a run out of time, is that at the age of 18, just to play devil's advocate, should the person consent, without coercion and all the rest of it, you decide opt for go and do harm, waiting then society get in place for that, because this is the person we go into them, open-eyed, well-informed, and then decide, say, I tell you what, this is not my own way of doing it, and I want to do it, as I say, irrespective of the tribe you belong to, whether KRIO or otherwise, the fact is, or maybe Sierra Leonean or any other country in the subcontinent, but if at 18, you actually know the complications, the possible complications, and of course, the stigma and all that attached to them, but you decide for going to them, what then? I just to play devil's advocate.
And I would posit that informed consent, as doctor, then what would they do you surgery for informed consent? Would they say that this surgery would they do? Would they make you watch a video? You can actually watch a video of the surgery. You know exactly what happened. So if that is the case, let us make sure it is informed consent. Then put video, then you watch, then you see what's in the happen. And if you say that you want, my dear, go ahead. But I'm sure if it is true informed consent, the numbers will be relatively low.
Yeah, absolutely. On that positive note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we don't run out of time, but what I go do, I go through the panels. Doc, this is absolutely fantastic. I can't thank you enough, but I think all man agree with me, say there should be an encore. Definitely we need for take this forward. Maybe we could sort of diversify a bit, go into the male aspect of it and compare. I think that would be, a really hot topic as this one is, definitely, So the panelists, or the members of the team, Wel Bodi Beteh past Gentri, I know you've been going for go. Okay, mommy, I see you straight. Miss Ria to Kamara,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Fatu, for now. We all man don't talk so. Now, exactly, me own experience, when they call me survivors then. So me own experience, and me, the one thing where they say no more, demand them. Now, because when we look at the panel today, the under we talk now, most demanding I didn't talk. You understand? So me the thing say, demand them for educate, demand them. Let them think about the girl picking them. Let them think about waiting, get for go up into the girl picking that you let you picking. Want for nothing happen to you picking, let alone the most important thing where God make that woman day. You left and say for you picking go through that pain day. It's very, very difficult. So meeting say demand them, and that's that education when they begin from school. Meeting say if we begin that education from school now, for begin educate the picking, the picking themselves understand anything, picking and them brain porous, so then they take more and more and more, and the more we they talk about it, and the more they picking them, the next generation they're not go. I don't think they go think like that. Right. So for me, that's not what I get for say. For we continue, and the program wonderful, the presentation wonderful, and for me, so my papa not one for a good society, but in the hand and side, because the patriarchal grandpa don't say every 2-3 years, not 10, 15, 20, 30 picking for go society. You can't get out of it. My papa not forget no sign for carry me go for say not get into it. So just we educate, continue for educate, like how we educate so that things can go change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Bell.
Yes, Dr. Forna, thank you very much for that presentation there. It's honestly speaking, I hope more people are going to see this, because this is also going to fit on YouTube as well, and maybe on Facebook as recorded copy. And I hope people are able for forward them to other people and for make them also see them, because it's very, very important for make a lot of people in our salon, and if not even in salon, around the world, Sierra Leoneans around the world for cities session here. So we all don't talk the different areas that we can help here politically and individually. Education is very, very important. I can always say you have to educate people in groups, like for instance, when we talk about the nurses, then we can educate the nurses, then say, let them know, then the nurse and they can even make a law say no medical staff allowed for do something like a dandy, because if we have to shut that area there, at least you will able to reduce the FGM. And then somebody else, we don't talk about the socio-economical aspects. Yeah, so if that woman did not able to get in money through that source day, maybe you get another way where you're able for give that woman the money for run the Bondo society without cutting. So a lot of us say the woman they get the money for go cut the picking them, but at least it can get the money for educate the picking them on other areas in the society. So that means in that social economical area, it could also be taken care of. I mean, politicians they can still pay for picking and for go Bondo, but not for cut. So it's you get different solutions there we can use for combat this issue here. So, and as Septina we don't talk also, I mean, it's something illegal, then even an 18-year-old go for do. So I don't know how they get for set up that area there as well. Maybe make it illegal, you just make it for people that way. If they get in consent with 18 or 20, they want to go do then go do in a supervised version. I mean, you have to have a way where you define a middle point. I mean, we can't just put, I try to be the devil's advocate at the moment, but it's something that you have to sit around with these women, the Sowe as well, and make a session. We may talk on Friday, say, maybe we will make a symposium in a salon as well, where then it goes to that will help for bring up this issue and also bring these women and explain to them which are the harmful area, and I believe, I mean, this also don't start from way back. The education don't start from way back. Talking about this don't start from way back. And the other thing is Progress Day. Yeah, we don't talk like I've said there's no progress. I mean, Dr. Forna, you may show them, you may show the graph, the graphic way showing say less people than between 15 and 20 we're circumcised at the moment. So that means that there's progress. There are more people talking about it. So let's not lose hope. Let's not lose hope. This is not something where we can continue for talk about and continue for educate people about. And thank you very much, Dr. Forna. And so I don't tell you one thing for you, I want to see you.
Thank you so much. Right. Ms. Fatima Koroma.
So just want to thank you for Dr. Forna for your presentation. I think say for we age group then specifically people then we born na abroad. We don't know what in Bondo mean. We know in Bondo mean, but me now where the work na public health now they I understand what you mean. But now as we don't say na public secrets. So I think say the education way we they do back home, but also now the education way we they get now it could really help for bring that awareness for we people then. But I like where demand then in the back way, because then they're really important, because now then we get the focal points per the whole situation. So if then the drive on with we, then we go able for change team then. But thank you, Nathan Dinomo.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if Fatima, I know we get a chance for introduce everybody. Now we all nutritionists. So anything we get for do with food and we diet and how it affect everybody in the human days. And we're so proud of our, we very rare profession, but he did with me, and we're grateful for that. Right. Next person, yeah, Dr. Conte, Rashid Conte.
Good evening. Plenty. Thank you to Dr. Fatu Forna. This kind of talk so emotional to me because typically I come on a village, so like even they just talk to me. What I think normally is after all said and done, what's the way forward? But doctor come with the solution. It say now a multifactorial problem, and therefore it requires a multifactorial solution. Then Dr. Bell say we've been done to get the education from how long? So how long we get for continue with the multifactorial? I think me personally, I will put the onus on Wel Bodi Beteh as Gentri, Dr. Forna, and medical forums around the world where common salon, where leg salon, where get salon at interest. Dr. Forna say the political will is lacking. So when I then bodies here, when I start for solve the problem from top, and then the education, the small groups, the alumni, the sewers, all the other things, then even including the media for educate people. When it becomes a law, ignorance to the law is not an excuse. If we start for solve the problem from the top, from the political will, because that's yourself now culprit, as doctor don't say. So if they make them a law, and then the teaching, the alumni, the school, all that will help to educate people and make people aware. Then we will see progress sooner rather than later. I thank you, and I hope say you go honor the call say you need to come again for talk. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much, Dr. Conte. Right. Dr. Sheku, say I don't get a chance for call you. I don't know if you want to say a short something.
I don't say then I walk so something.
All right, that's okay. No problem. Yeah. All right. Well, me, as I say, Doc, I'll give the last word to you because me, if I'm not going to say anything else, but I'll just say I thank everybody for the way they spend their time, and up until now, people are still, and we can continue this conversation for as long as necessary. But the one thing I can say is that, yes, we thank you, and I tell you what, I can't say it enough, that God no more will bless you for what you done to do. And as I say, hats off to you, I doff my hat to you, and as I say, I get the utmost respect for you, and I know, say, by God's grace, this collaboration we don't begin, so we will carry on forward, and we'll make sure, say, we get to the heights where they actually aspire for. There's no questions about that, because we know, say, Wel Bodi, now better pass Gentri. So last word to you, Doc. You round them up, and then let me close for the day, because otherwise we'll go there all night. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to say thank you to Wel Bodi Beteh past Gentri and to all of you for come together and have this discussion. Very, very spirited discussion. It really so good for get all man speak up, and it seemed like all man get great ideas. All man believe say this is a harmful practice we need for move forward for try for stop na salon. So it really, the amount of people that spoke up and had good ideas was very it just make us feel very happy about it. And I think say over to you, Wel Bodi Beteh past Gentri. I think there is an appetite for maybe what we've been talking about in a joking manner, but this is serious. Maybe a one-day type of symposium in a salon where we get different groups like you've talked about, the sewers, the media, political, health, nurses, schools, alumni organization. We invite all of these people for let we sit down and come together, and that is the pressure that we need. For find a way forward and get recommendations here. And I think, say, because on a background, you would be the type of people that could call this together and partner with the Ministry of Health organization and for do this. So I'm looking forward to something like that. But thanks to you, thanks to everyone. And hopefully in our lifetime, FGM goes end in salon.
Super. On that cheerful note, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the audience abundantly, and I hope, say, in the next 2 weeks, when I go get back the appetite for come and join me. But Dr. Forna, you are my hero. Thank you so much. And on that note, we say good night to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.